Alright, I'm just gonna say it. This is the most important aspect of film right here. Well, I guess it depends how you look at it. Because no visuals with sound is better than visuals with no sound. I would say so, right? Because you can tell a story with sound, but you can't. I guess, it seems pretty equal actually now that I think about it. Anyways, scratch what I'm saying. Let's get to the point in this video. So today we're talking about the basics of immersive sound design. You want your sound design to further portray your video. So when you're editing, you want the audience to hear the sounds that the character in your video is hearing. If you have a person walking through like a field or on a trail, you want to hear the footsteps because that's what the character is hearing. They're taking each step and they're hearing the footstep. I totally did not just mime walk under the desk. But otherwise, without this element, the audience is just going to feel really detached from your video and not really get sucked into the content that's going on. They're just going to layer it as visuals and maybe some music or just visuals, And visuals, they do a lot, but sound is what really shines. But really, think about it. If you're walking on a gravel road, are you going to hear the steps you are taking on the gravel? Yeah, most likely. Every step you take is going to be and you can't leave that out, or then it's just going to be like something's missing, and it's innate to the audience that something's missing. But not only the main sound going on there, me walking on the gravel, there's going to be other sounds on top of the gravel. There's going to be maybe some wind, there's going to be some birds, there's going to be so many different layers of sounds on top of that, and that's what's going to make the audience immersed within the moment, is if they feel that they're actually there in the present, walking on that road with your character. As humans in today's world, we block out a lot of the small sounds and we really just listen to the main sounds. So what I mean by that, if I drop this, you're going to hear that. And you're not going to pay attention to anything going on in the background. Now, hopefully I have a good mic set up and you can't hear that in the background. But I've got a washing machine going right now a room away, and I can hear it. If y'all could hear that too, that would be the secondary sound that your brain would just normally tune out, And if you have a hard time visualizing this, maybe take a second to go outside or just in a place that has a dynamic range of sounds and just sit there and do nothing but grab a piece of paper, sit on a bench, and just write down every sound you can hear. And I bet you'll be really surprised on how many you can write down, depending on the location. In general, it's going to be at least 4. Probably about 4 sounds that are really going to matter. You could layer as many as you want, but there's a certain point where you just reach a plateau. Once you have gotten to a point, whether you're there now or if you need to go out and sit in a bench outside and listen, you get to an area where you have a good idea about what sounds are going to go in a certain setting. So if you film a shot by a lake with some grass and whatnot, you'll know what sounds are associated with the lake and being outside in that kind of environment. And that's really one of the most important aspects of this, is just trying to find what sounds work, because you're kind of just making it up. You're essentially getting a blank canvas and you're putting the sounds you want to create feeling of the visuals that you captured. I probably could have laid that out a little more clear, but I think y'all understand. Alright, so I just pulled up my sheltering in cave video. This one has a pretty good amount of sound design involved. So as you can see, we got a lot of sounds toppled on top of each other, and each one of these is working to just make the audience really feel immersed in the moment. So I'm going to play a little clip right when the nighttime scene comes, because it's got this nice little jumble of stuff right here, and you can really hear just a lot of sounds happening. And I just want y'all to take it in for a second. And I am going to turn off the music for this just so y'all can hear the raw sounds. Okay, so in this little section, y'all saw that there was a lot happening there. We had multiple different sounds just compiled all together, but it works. It definitely, it looks more complex on the timeline, but it actually is very, organized and ends up giving a really nice result. Right now, I'm going to focus on the atmospheric sounds. So I started off with a light breeze, because that's always a go-to for me, is a light breeze. It adds almost like a white noise to your clip as just a good baseline fundamental for all your sounds to go on top of that. And you would be surprised, like, I'm telling you, just find a good light breeze sound effect, put it in there, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It layers it just perfectly. After this, at least in this section, we've got the wood forest sound effect. It's got like a little bit of, honestly, like wind with trees and whatnot, and some bugs, and it's very ambient, and that's what I like. So I compiled that with, the light breeze, and those just combine perfectly. We'll get back to more of the like specific sounds in a minute. Down here below those, though, we have a thunder rumble. So that was the reason I implemented that, is because it was a very rainy day, and that was the message I wanted to communicate to the audience. Is we were out there in the rain, we were capturing this really cool atmosphere to the whole video, and it just looked really cool. And we experienced rain, we experienced thunder. So like, while I was filming, I took note of that. I mean, it's pretty easy to recognize the thunder while we're filming. And I was like, okay, this needs to be implemented in the video somewhere. And I implemented it somewhere else in the video as well, just to keep that throughout the video. And it just, something about thunder just really is so nice in a video. And then we've got our fire. So we've got the first shot of the fire that comes right next to, like the camera pans right next to the fire. And then we have this shot right here where the fire's a little further away. So I had to use two different fire sound effects for that, so that they didn't sound oddly familiar. One's a little more far away and one's close up. And if you don't have two sound effects to work with, you can always change the volume of them, maybe muffle one, and just play around with it. Get the distance and setting, because you don't want a far away fire to sound like it's right next to you, unless that's what you're going for. So it's all about just how you play with it and what you want your audience to recognize. Okay, so this is important. Whether you're using music or not, there needs to be sound effects. If you have music, use sound effects. I can't stress this enough. And quite honestly, I did this for far too long, and that's why I'm like really getting on this, is y'all have to use sound effects with music. It's just, you're missing out on so much in that video. Now, you want to think as sound effects and music as a team. You got the sounds, which are providing your, location immersion, and some. We'll get to that in a little bit. And then you got the music, which is adding your emotion. And those together are just going to go boom and just make you feel right there where you're supposed to be in your film. So now that I've played the clip with only sound effects, I'm going to mute all the sound effects, and we're going to listen to it with just the music, so y'all can hear the difference between adding sound effects, only sound effects, and adding only music. Okay, so you can see that it is just not the same. I mean, the music's cool. You still get the emotional aspect of everything, but you're just not there, and you're definitely just watching something on your screen, and you don't feel like anything else is involved. Okay, so back to the idea of teamwork. That is what we're going to focus on now. I'm going to unmute all the sound effects, and we're going to play it with music and sound effects, so y'all can experience the teamwork involved in the emotional aspect and the present, atmospheric, immersive aspect. Okay, so what do you think? I would say that's a big difference. You can hear both going on. You feel like you're there. It just levels up the video so much. But as always, depending on what your project is, what you want the viewer to experience, do what you need. But I will say, using them both together is a magical thing. You kind of want to go beyond just the sounds that you hear in the environment. Your environment sounds are the ones that I just went over. Breezes, your basic just atmospheric sounds that you're obviously going to hear in a field. I like to call it the sixth sense sounds. The only reason I've named it that is because I have no other way to describe this, but essentially the sounds that do more than just put your character in an environment, whether that's like a whoosh, like a whoosh, you know, something like a whoosh doesn't really happen when you like you don't hear any, but that's like another sound that you can add to it that's going to just make it more and more immersive, and like almost you can almost make your audience believe that actually happened. But to lay it out, basically it's focusing on the message that you want from your shot and picking a sound that will add to that wouldn't necessarily be expected from that. And that ties it in right there. The sixth sense. It brings your clip home, but nobody really knows what's going on there, like what happened. They just know it was dialed in. Okay, so for this example, I want y'all to listen to this next clip. Listen for the breathing sound. There's just like a single like exhale. So that's the sixth sense I'm talking about, is representing more with your sounds than just what you would think would be there. I used the exhale to represent that they're taking a break, and this was a stagnant shot I got of them while all the other ones were moving. So the stagnant shot, you know, it's going to stand out. And if you just play the stagnant shot, it's going to be like, so I guess they took a break or something. But when you have the breath, it's like, okay, they're taking a breather and then they're moving on. It just tells the story so much better than without a breath. All right. And then I got one more example. This one's by my friend Grant. Grant is a very seasoned sound designer. He's been messing around with this for quite a while now. But this clip was essentially him messing around, practicing sound designs, and ended up with this. So there's a lot happening here. So I don't actually know what sound design Grant layered on here, but I'm just going to kind of analyze it with my ears and go from there. So we've definitely got like a basic car revving sound that just, it works well in like a drift. The only reason I assume it wasn't actually a drifting sound is because you can't hear the tires. Could be wrong about that, but it does sound like a rev. This sound is providing us with the main like engine exhaust noise that we can hear throughout the clip. That's really the baseline of what's happening here. Now there's one sound I want y'all to focus on here that's really like stealing the show, and it's like an electronic static charge. I think that's what it sounds like to me. And you can really hear this when the car slows down, like it speed ramps down, and then it gets like muffled and quiet for a second. If you listen closely, you can hear that like static charge up, and it adds like this almost like, I guess, like computer or some kind of electronics like in the car. It's just like naturally your brain associates it with what's going on in the drift for some reason. So let's play it one more time and listen for that sound right there. Okay, so hopefully you were able to recognize it. Now there are a bunch of other sounds involved here that I could spend a million years picking apart because like there's probably flicks and switches and different things to initiate other sounds. But I wanted you to focus on the general gist of layering the engine and then this other random computer electronic noise that's almost like a suspense that just feels this clip so well. And it just adds like a ton of depth and immersion straight to that speed ramp where it just slows down and you feel like you're just watching like time just shut down, and then it speeds right back up and it's just full speed. So real quick before we're done with this clip, I want y'all to hear it without sound. Just recognize how different and plain this clip is without any sound. Like pretty much this clip, everything that's in it isn't even that much editing. It's mainly just sound design that makes it crazy. If y'all would like to see a hands-on tutorial of me putting some sound design on one of my videos, let me know in the comments and I'll get on that. Otherwise, I hope y'all found something helpful in this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.